What is up, everyone? This is Joe Rowan with Just Fantasy Baseball, and I am your lead fantasy analyst. Today, I'm going to be talking about some sleepers at the catching position. So, we're looking for the needles in the haystack of the backstops. So, with that, let's get started at 300th overall in ADP, and that is Mr. Patrick Bailey. Listen, out of everyone on this list, I might be drafting the most shares of Mr. Bailey. The kid is still young, and even though the home run numbers haven't quite been evident yet, let's remain patient. He didn't get a lot of experience in the minors, double A or triple A. He only played 28 games between both levels. But now that he has a full major league season under his belt, he's got breakout potential. His exit velocity was in the 84th percentile last season. And while his launch angle, it landed in the 83rd. But with time, I believe the power will start to show. And even though he owns a contact first profile, Bailey, he doesn't strike out and has really good OBP skills. So in points leagues or OBP leagues, he's the way to go. San Francisco, it's not the greatest hitter's park, but shorter than you think down the right field line, which suits lefties very well. So I'm curious to see what kind of step forward Bailey takes because I think he's headed in the positive direction. Next, we have Jonah Heim, who's coming in at 288th overall. And listen, I'm going to be frank, he needs to rediscover his 2023 form. And if he does, it's going to be a great year for Mr. Heim because 1 through 8 of this Texas lineup is incredible. With the acquisitions of Jake Berger and Jock Peterson, those true two power bats, 1 through 8, everyone has been a solidified major hitter or is a rookie that has a lot of hype, and Wyatt Langford and Evan Carter. And we know Langford's most likely to break out, see what Evan Carter brings us. But man, this lineup is dangerous. And Heim's probably going to be hitting last in the 9th spot. So if he can provide anything, it could be dangerous 1 through 9. He's not going to carry you in any single category, but, especially with Josh Young and Evan Carter and Jake Berger to hit right before him, he could put up some really, really nice RBI numbers. And when we look back on his 2023, there's reason to believe he'll be able to get back to it. It wasn't anything amazing, but he took advantage when he needed to. 95 RBIs, which is huge. And I honestly, if he gets back to himself, he could put up that total again with this lineup. His expected batting average was also higher than what he showed. So there's reason to be optimistic, and that's encouraging for sure. Now let's move on to Ivan Herrera, who is 245th off the board, or 241st, my bad, off the board. He has a chance to step up now with his teammate Wilson Contreras going full-time first baseman. He's got an opportunity. And, they haven't quite taken the reins off of Herrera, the Cardinals. He's only played 96 total games at the major league level. But so far, I've seen some motivating factors. A 301 batting average in addition to the 800 OPS last season. That really caught my eye. Why wouldn't it? And, Herrera, he only took pitchers deep 5 times last season. So I'd like to see the power numbers improve. And I think they will, considering, he hit 17 bombs in 98 AA games last year in 2021. So, the underlying data suggests brightness for Herrera, and he's got a strong launch angle and good bat speed. So it's going to be interesting to see what he can do. This is a cheap price, and I say go after him. Next, we have Mr. Ryan Jeffers, who comes in at 228th off the board. And, like Heim, let me be real with y'all. It's a roller coaster of a ride with Mr. Jeffers. Because remember last year when he was the guy on the waiver wire who everyone was grabbing, who is this catcher? He's going crazy. He's hitting bombs every other day. unfortunately, his second half wasn't quite as good, but he's still a guy worth taking as your catcher. The splits were very up and down. His April netted a 338 average with a 1 OPS. In May, he hit 7 long balls, yet the average dipped to just 214 in that time. And then he was awful in June, hitting just 1 homer with a 161 average, only to regroup in August, then crashed out yet again in September. So yeah, he's a roller coaster. But I do like the risk here. He has nice upside in the power department, and I like the price even more. And the good news is, if he's horrible in April, you can just simply drop him for another backstop who's showing positive signs. That easy. And lastly, we have Connor Wong, who is very much so set up to succeed in this gauntlet of a Red Sox lineup. Man, they just got richer with Alex Bregman. Look, not everyone has to light up StatCast in order to be a good major league hitter. Connor Wong falls in that category, especially in the catching department. I've been a big advocate of studying what a player has done at the AAA level, because more often than not, those types of numbers can transcend to the major league level. Back in 2022, Wong impressed with the 288, 349, 489 slash line with 15 long balls in 81 games. It's also worth mentioning that he had an 878 OPS back in 2019 in the minor leagues, and he had 24 long balls. So, the power, while it wasn't necessarily there last year, his home ballpark especially helps. Fenway, he's got good launch angle, and it's good for right-handed hitters who can elevate the ball, and he indeed does that. Um, for the last 2 seasons, Wong has actually produced a pull rate above 40%. And if we look at his home run landing spots, 11 of his 13 home runs last season landed over the Green Monster. So his home ballpark helps him, and when he does play, it's going to help your lineup, and especially he's going to have some good counting stats with all those guys in that lineup. So with that, those are your backstop sleepers. Hopefully you guys, can maintain a good catcher throughout the season. It's a tough position. If you don't get one of the elite guys, you're gonna have to go with one of these guys and roll the dice. So it's important information to know. And with that, I'd love for you to subscribe to the Just Fantasy Baseball podcast here on YouTube, and also follow me on Twitter at JRose34. If you have any fantasy baseball questions, do not hesitate to reach out. My DMs are always open. Thank you, and have a good one.